So my now boyfriend almost didn't get a first date with me because he actually canceled on our first date a couple times. And we all know that is not a good look, and I don't put up with that bullshit. And when I told him that, and I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm not scheduling another first date with you. Like, this is not a good sign. He begged me to let him have a first date and to give him a chance. And it took a lot of convincing, but he did. He really did. Because he was sick, and then he had work stuff come up. Like, his excuses were legit. I mean, even now as a relationship is gone, he's like, no, that shit really did happen. But I still made him work for it. And I told him, I'm free Sunday after 6 o'clock. You tell me where to go, but I will not leave my house until you tell me you were at the restaurant in the chair. And I meant that shit too. I got ready. He texted me. He sent me a picture, like a screenshot of the reservation. Like, I was pretty sure he was going to show up because he knew this was his last chance and he was not going to fuck it up. But I was like, yeah, we never know. Who knows what this guy's going to do? But then he texted me and he said, my butt is parked in the seat. And I said, okay, I'll leave. See you soon. I literally waited till he was at the restaurant and sitting in the chair before I left the house. And I love that for me. I'm Allie. I'm a dating and mindset coach, and I help you not put up with bullshit. If you want to work with me, go to the link in my bio.
She's so proud of herself. Look how much pleasure she got out of humiliating her boyfriend. She even says that his excuses were legitimate, that he got sick or whatever, and he apologized. So you'd think that in hindsight that this story would be embarrassing for her. Like, oh, I can't believe how badly I misjudged him. You know, look how I got that wrong. Look how immature my response was. Nope. She loves this story. Look how I made this man wait in a restaurant. Look how I made him sacrifice his dignity and embarrass himself for my sake, because the lower he sinks, the higher I rise. What a toxic mindset. But I guess that's what passes for female empowerment these days. It's just how much you can humiliate a man. Can I also say just how unpleasant it is to listen to a woman swear that much? Like, that was just a minute-long clip and she swore 5 times. It's so unfeminine. I don't know if we should even believe her. I mean, that text she showed was obviously fake. But regardless, what I want to do is I want to delve into her psychology, because that woman is like so many other women in that they really enjoy controlling men. Why is it? Why do women enjoy controlling men? Why did she enjoy embarrassing her boyfriend? Why was that so pleasurable for her? Is it because women are dark and evil? No. No, that's too simplistic. And to be honest, the answer is actually a little bit more sad, I would say. The truth is that women are just like all other human beings. They want love, and it's frightening for them, the thought that they can't control that and that it might leave them at some point. And so the desire to control another human being really comes down to a need for safety. Every single human being, myself included, you included, we want to be loved. We want connection. We want companionship. We want someone to laugh with, to cry with, somebody who's going to share when we succeed, but also be there for us when we're feeling down. You know, we want that pair bonding. It's love, basically. I'll just call it love. Now, a high quality woman, she doesn't want to control men because she doesn't need to. She's got high self-esteem. She's highly confident in her own innate value. She doesn't need to cheat or manipulate or exploit a man. She can get love through trade. Essentially, I have so much to offer a man, I'm confident that he's going to be able to see that and want to give love back to me in return. And then we can just love each other. That's how love works with high quality individuals. It's effortless, it's uncomplicated, it's reciprocal, and there's heaps of it to go around. There's just an overflowing abundance of love as people give generously to each other because they don't have the sense that love is something scarce. But women of low self-esteem do not have that trust because fundamentally, deep down, they don't believe that what they have to offer as a woman is actually valuable. And so when you've got nothing valuable to trade, you resort to dirty tactics, to cheating, to manipulating, to abusing, to doing whatever you can to control the other person, to keep them in your sphere of influence so that you can continue to extract love from them. I know that this is really sad. It's very dark to even contemplate the mindset of these kind of low quality women, why they do what they do, but you have to understand it so that you can protect yourself from it, because the consequences could be disastrous. If you haven't seen my video on this topic yet, please make sure you watch that. It's a cautionary tale. And when I say low quality women, I don't mean to sound judgmental, because I have compassion for them. from a distance, because I understand where it comes from. You know, a lot of these women who are so desperate for love and so terrified of being abandoned, they're possessive and jealous, they had really traumatic childhoods. You know, they just want love. They're going about it the wrong way, of course, but I have that in common with them. I want love too. But beware of your masculine sympathy. Even if you understand the dark place that a woman's, possessive, controlling behavior comes from, that doesn't mean that you're going to be able to successfully navigate it. There are so many men out there who underestimated a woman's power, who didn't even realize how much they were being controlled. And so to help you out, I'm going to explain the ways that a woman controls a man so that you can watch out for it. Now, some women will try and control you through your biological desires, using sex as a bargaining tool. Some women will threaten you, say things like, I'll break up with you or I'll kill myself if you ever leave me. It's like a terrorist. They're using fear in order to get their demands met from men. But I'm not going to go too deep into those in this video. I'm going to talk about what I think is the main way that women try and control men, which is by reducing them, like the woman did at the beginning of this video in that clip. So what happened there? What was actually going on for her? Well, they're trying to organize these dates, but he gets sick or there's some work emergency or something like that. And she feels unsafe. That's what she's emotionally going through. Like, I'm looking for a man that I can trust, that I can love, that I can surrender into. But this guy is so unreliable. I don't feel safe with him. I can't, risk getting my heart broken by a man who keeps canceling on me like this. This is why women require so much proof from the man that they're dating, that the man loves them, that he is invested in them. That's actually the psychology behind why women like romantic gestures. I made a whole video about it. Follow up to this video, go check that one out. But do you see how it makes sense then that if a woman is scared of a man abandoning her, not being there for her, like she's scared that that love's going to go away, it actually tracks logically, not rationally, but logically. You can see how she got to this point where she thinks that if she reduces that man, then he's easier to control, which means he's easier to keep close, which means her supply of love is a lot more reliable and she feels more safe. What was that woman really saying to her boyfriend when she said, go to the restaurant and then I want you to sit there by yourself and wait for me? She's saying, I want you to prove yourself to me. I want you to sacrifice something that's important, your dignity, your time. Sacrifice it for me, because when I see that you're willing to sacrifice for me, then I'm going to feel a lot more safe with you. Once I see that you're willing to humiliate yourself for my sake, now I can begin to trust you. It's so dark, but that's the naked, raw reality of some women's psychology, that they must control a man. They must reduce him until he's basically unable to leave or function without her. And that's how she feels safe. The way that she thinks about it is that I don't want my man to be filled with confidence. I don't want him to have high self-esteem, because the moment that he feels good about himself, he might take off. He might go explore other options. He might look for a woman who's better than me. And then suddenly I'm left abandoned. I've got no love. That's not good. But if I can lower his self-esteem and make him feel bad about himself, then he's a lot more likely to stay with me. This is why guilt is a woman's #1 weapon against men. I made a whole video on that. And this is the unconscious motive behind abuse in relationships. You want to reduce the other person, make them dependent upon you so that they can't leave you, and your supply of love is guaranteed. It's inside your control. This is why I say that women who are abusive are low quality, because it fundamentally comes from a place of low self-esteem. Because if you're confident that what you've got to offer is incredible and that any man would be lucky to be with you, then you're not going to be so paranoid about your partner leaving. But when you really feel like you're worthless, you've got nothing to offer, your romantic partner, it makes sense why you'd be paranoid that they would leave you and why you'd want to keep them down, why you'd want to reduce them, make them feel bad about themselves. Because the moment that they feel good about themselves, then they might start looking around their surroundings and questioning things like, why am I here? What am I doing? Is there more? And they might look at you with fresh eyes and be like, now that I feel good about myself, I actually recognize how low value you are as a person, how manipulative you are, how little you have to offer. That's terrifying. Better to keep him reduced, humble, feeling bad about himself. That way he's blind to my flaws. And of course, the horrible irony of that whole situation is that women will do this. They will reduce a man because it makes them feel temporarily more safe. And in so doing, they'll sap him of all of his vitality, all of his confidence, all of his charisma. and make him dependent upon her, which she thinks is going to make her happy, make her feel safe. But what actually happens is she's removed the very thing that she found appealing about him in the first place. There's no more masculinity left. He's just like, oh, now I don't even like this guy. It's just some pathetic puppy dog that follows me around. It's like she's sucked all of the life out of him and then just discarded him. It's tragic. You need to guard against this. I made that video about domestication is the lowest that a man can sink in a relationship. Make sure you watch that video. When that happens, it's so dark. It's so depressing. And even worse, this is actually happening on a widespread social scale. I think women are in the middle of an identity crisis because since they started competing with men, going to work, which of course I'm in favor of, I'm just talking about the consequences. It's that they don't really know what it is they have to offer anymore. It used to be because the masculine and the feminine were doing such completely different things. Men had their separate roles. A woman's role, like what made her valuable to a man's life, was obvious. But since men and women have become so much more similar, suddenly she's like, I don't know what it is that I have to offer. And there's a self-esteem crash that comes with that, like a crisis of identity. Like, who am I? Like, what exactly do I have to contribute? It's not obvious to me anymore. And so women are a little bit panicked in their relationships. And so with the radical, hardcore feminism, what I think you're seeing is this expression of confusion and panic of, I don't know what it is that we have to offer. And I'm a little bit scared that men aren't going to value us. Men aren't going to want us. And so what do? If you are feeling self-conscious and you're worried that you don't have anything to offer, what do? You start reducing men. You start male bashing. You start making men feel as bad and guilty and awful and rotten and horrible collectively as you possibly can because you're scared that collectively the whole male gender is just going to leave you, right? But if you can reduce male self-esteem, make them feel really bad about themselves, maybe they'll be blind and they won't be able to see what your value is. Moderate feminism, I don't have an issue with. I've covered that in previous videos, but that hardcore radical feminism that's just all about hating on men, I really see a huge parallel between that movement and a toxic, abusive relationship in that in the relationship, the woman is scared that the man's going to leave her, and so she tries to reduce his self-esteem. But the radical feminists are doing the same. They're just constantly shitting on men. It's like they're so scared of being judged and evaluated themselves that they want to make the potential judges, the opposite gender, just feel so guilty and wretched that they'll never turn their eyes back onto them. They'll always just be consumed with their own guilt and low self-esteem. In this way, they can ensure that men are never going to collectively abandon them. And of course, it does not work. That's not how our psychology actually operates. It's so tragic because it's a failed strategy. It's not going to succeed. At a social level, it's already proved to be a disaster. But forget that for a moment. Just think about it from the individual level. If you as a woman just constantly abuse and berate and belittle your man, make him feel worse and worse about himself because you're scared that he's going to leave you, that he's not going to be able to give you love, well, guess what the final consequence of that is? Once you've reduced him to a bubbling pile of, nothingness, he's not going to have any love to give because he's going to be so consumed with thoughts of self-hatred. And you see this on the social level as well, because, if you're looking at collectively, men seem less impressive as every year goes on. Well, that's the result of the cultural paradigm that we find ourselves in. But guess what? If we switch that, if we lived in an environment where we glorified men, we glorified masculinity, men are amazing, men are talented, men can do so many things. Guess what? Our achievements would explode. Wouldn't it be nice to live in a society that was modeled on a healthy relationship between two high self-esteem individuals who just love each other so much and are so generous and just give so much? Don't you want to live in a culture like that? It's actually the smart strategy. If you're a woman and you want love from a man, don't tear him down, build him up, build his confidence, make him feel good about himself so that he has love to spare and it just overflows to you effortlessly. I know that seems like the simple solution, and so you ask, well, why doesn't that occur? Well, the sad truth is that it is simple, but it only works if the woman has high self-esteem, if she actually feels worthy of receiving love. A low-value woman doesn't trust genuine love. It's scary to her. It feels like it's going to abandon her at any moment because she can't rise high enough in her quality to actually meet it. And so she resorts to manipulation and abuse, tearing the man down, making him feel bad about himself so that he becomes dependent upon her because then she has control over him. She has control over that supply of love. And it's easier, right? Like actual self-growth, becoming an amazing person who's talented and valuable in the eyes of other people, that takes a lot of effort. But tearing somebody else down, just making them sink to your level, that's easy, and it doesn't really require anything of you. Of course, the cost is going to be enormous, because any woman who actually does this as a strategy, she's not going to be able to live with herself if she's actually acknowledging how dark her real motives are and how she's manipulating a perfectly innocent person. And so she starts that long process of lying to herself and deluding herself and convincing herself that she's actually the victim of him in some way, and she loses touch with reality. And it's not a happy story. There's no happy ending when a woman starts going down that path. It just gets worse and worse and worse. It's a real spiral into a nightmare. And of course, this doesn't have to be gendered. So for my female audience members, this is highly relevant to you as well. Stay away from men who try and tear you down. They're probably terrified that you're too good for them and that you're going to leave them. Well, probably you should, right? Find a man who actually wants to build you up, who treats you kindly, who trusts you, who has enough confidence in himself that you rising and being an amazing, incredible woman doesn't feel threatening to him. So it can really apply to either gender, but, unfortunately, individuals who are actually capable of genuinely loving another person like that, they're regrettably rare. But hopefully, if you're the kind of person who likes my channel, you like my content, you resonate with what I say, you're one of those rare individuals that wants to build other people out, that doesn't want to succeed at the expense of other people. And I'm so glad that you found my stuff. Thank you. Thank you for watching all the way to the end of this video. I know I got a bit passionate in that one, but I hope that you enjoyed it. Here's a good follow-on to that video. What are you meant to do when you are jealous of your girlfriend's ex-boyfriend? Like, how are you meant to handle that jealousy? Are you meant to talk to her? Are you meant to talk to him? What are you meant to do inside yourself? How do you get rid of that jealousy? And what is that jealousy actually telling you about yourself? This is really hard for a lot of men to deal with. And so I've made an entire video on my Patreon about this topic. So if you want to find out more about jealousy, I highly recommend you check out that video. For just $5, you can access it, plus every other video I've ever released on Patreon, which is like 200 videos at this point. We have a great community over there. It's a great way to support the creator. I'd love to see you over there so that you can be a part of it.